Good morning. The trade wars have exposed how reliant North American and European factories are for raw materials inputs from China and from the other BRICS countries. Decoupling isn't possible at all, and the high tariffs on imports just lead right away to tighter supplies and higher prices back home. That's because there are no substitutes at lower prices in our own markets, and often there aren't any substitutes even at higher prices. So buyers must either pay the high tariffs or go without. Now that same dynamic is hitting farmers in Western countries. It's commonly believed that we are self-sufficient in food and we export surplus food to the rest of the world and that other countries would starve otherwise. But that has not been true for a long time, and the United States is now a net food importer. We import more food than we export on a value basis. And the agricultural sectors in the US and Europe are heavily dependent on imported fertilizer to grow their crops. Now the countries that produce that fertilizer are choosing to keep it for themselves to grow their own crops, and prices are zooming higher. China and Russia are two top global suppliers for fertilizers. Diammonium phosphate fertilizers are up 34% this year. On this historical chart for the fertilizer price index, it looks at first glance as if fertilizer is on sale and trending lower. But the Ukraine war is an extreme outlier that pushed prices up to record highs, and the index is over 3 times the level in 2020. Fertilizer prices are surging again for 2 primary reasons. First up is China, who shut off exports of urea and DAP. Analysts suspect Beijing is just keeping their fertilizer for themselves to ensure that their own farms, which are expanding, are well supplied. Another explanation for the Chinese curbs comes from their manufacturing sector, as phosphate is a critical material for electric vehicle batteries. The second reason is the European Union sanctions on Russia, which, along with Belarus, are key suppliers for European farms. The EU put new tariffs on imports of fertilizer, pushing prices up, so European farmers are shopping for them in other markets. Europe has only limited production of potash. The new tariffs on Russian fertilizers are simply forcing European farmers to pay a higher price to bring them in from farther away. So prices for fertilizers are going up across the world, even in the United States, which is not nearly as reliant on imports. Fertilizer inputs add up to 18% of total production cost for US soybeans and 35% for wheat and corn. So it is a key cost driver, and the prices are going higher. The phosphate fertilizers are growing faster in price than the others, but potash is rising too. And so this chart here is a little bit misleading because it appears that fertilizer costs are falling as a percentage of overall farm expenses, and that part's true. But the bad news is that the other inputs are going up even faster than the fertilizer costs. Electricity, farm labor, interest payments, rent, property taxes are shooting up, along with the cost of farm machinery. Now farmers have no idea what the prices on fertilizer will be next week, let alone for the next planting season. When we consider the U.S. position on fertilizer and the sources for it, it does seem like this should be a manageable problem. Almost all the potassium-based fertilizers in the American market come from domestic sources, 97%. For nitrogen fertilizers, the U.S. imports 18% of what's used, and for phosphates, it's just 13%. But remember that European farmers aren't allowed to buy from Russia anymore, and China has shut off almost everybody else. Russia is also keeping much more for themselves. Their exports overall are just a fifth of where they were before 2022. So domestic suppliers, American suppliers, are raising their prices to meet all this new global demand. Gulf DAP is diammonium phosphate sourced from the southern United States. And phosphate producers there are having one of their best years ever. A year ago, $574 a ton, now over $750 a ton. These higher costs across the board are a major problem for North American farmers. In order to survive, they need to win back the export markets that have gone to South American farmers and to Africa. Countries that are friendly with China and Russia, and especially farmers in China and in Russia, have access to these low-cost fertilizers and tools, and so they enjoy higher productivity compared to farmers in Europe or in the United States. This is Xinjiang. Be good.
Store up for yourself treasure in heaven. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. No man can serve two masters. You cannot serve